Hello, and thanks for joining. In the last episode of The Colored Boy from Williamston, we ended on Walter getting scammed in Times Square. I would consider it more a robbery than anything else, but it's a lessons learned. All right, so I survived that incident. You guys want to get a little bit more clarity on that? You can go back and take a look at the two previous episodes. This is episode 3, by the way, of The Colored Boy from Williamston. All right, so I had lessons learned that, you can't really trust people. You got to, I'm like this, some of this opinion, right? This is the way I move with my life is I distrust until I'm proven that I can trust this person. All right, that is the way I live my life. All right, give me a reason to trust you. Okay? All right, so anyway, after I saw my first bomb on the street and having to worry about, racism, how it's so covert. Now, these are my observation, not my observation. This is the baggage that I brought into New York when I came. This was in the back of my mind, even though I did not openly display it. Before I say anything else, I do want to dedicate this episode to Ma, Miss Hannah Stokes, all right, the lady that raised me. I was born in a house, and she raised me. And she did pass, and one of the worst years of my life. And it got to be up there 1 or 2 in terms of where it ranked, instead of in terms of devastating blows. Or corpse in the road was when Ma died. I was born in Ma's house. I was born in the back room, but and my real mother that birthed me at that time, she was young and she didn't have the bandwidth or she was just a child. She was only 18 when I was born. So what are you gonna do? I don't hold it against her. I think that it was what it was at the time. I took on my mom's last name, Stokes, instead of Latham. So anyway, when I go home, believe it or not, people call me Booby Stokes. Booby being my nickname, but Stokes was my last name until I got to high school. And I realized when I got to high school, I had to use my real name. I didn't know. I thought Stokes was my real name. But Latham is my real surname. Okay? Mom raised a lot of kids. Me being one of them. But, I was her great nephew, actually. All right. Her sister was my grandmother. Okay? But anyway, to move forward, Ma died when I was in college at Elizabeth City State University. And I'll never forget that. As I said, it's one of the most devastating moments of my life. I was at a party. I was living on campus at ECSU, Elizabeth City State University. And this is the first semester, and someone had a party about a mile or 2 away from the campus. Because you down in Elizabeth City, North Carolina back then, it was dark roads. So anyway, I got a ride to the party. And for some reason, I was just feeling, out of sorts. I don't know where it came from. I just felt like, and I asked the guy that brought us there, did he mind dropping me off at the campus? Well, he said, Walter, look, man, we having a good time. Can you hang in there? I said, don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it. And it was a Friday night or Saturday night. No, it was a Friday night. And now you see why I remember that it was Friday a little bit later in this podcast. But it was a Friday night. It was raining. It was about maybe 10:30, 11:30. And I just walked back to the campus over a mile in the rain. You know, I just felt, I don't know what it was. Maybe, I mean, some people say, well, you know, you felt your mom's death or something like that. I don't know. But when I got back to campus, you know, I had to change. You know, I went through the bathroom, the shower. Right? So anyway, while I was in the bathroom, somebody knocked and said, "Are you Walter?" I said, "Yeah." "Do you know Miss Hannah Stokes?" I said, "Yeah, that's my mom." "Well, she died tonight," and I could not comprehend it. I literally could not comprehend it. I thought I was like in some type of dream or whatever. I don't know what it was, but it was. I was in shock. You know, looking back at it, I was in shock. All right, being in the band at the City State, hey, I was a trumpet player, you know, and I was good at what I did. So, but anyway, I was in the marching band. You know, this is in the fall, and she died in October, and I was in the marching band. I was in the concert band at the Living City State, and the following day, we had to go to, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, AT&T or A&T College up in Winston-Salem, or well, A&T. All right, predominantly also a HBCU, and you know they were on our schedule for football, basketball, so they were within the same conference. I think it's the CIAA. Anyway, we go there. I go to the party on the way back after this guy told me about how Ma died. The next day we had, you know, I told you we had a trip to A&T. So I went. I got on the bus and went. Because I could not, to me, it was just a bad dream. I didn't even, you know, I don't know. I was shock walking, for lack of a better term. But the drum major at that time also came from my hometown. Actually, we lived on the same street. And when we got back from the football game that evening, that Saturday afternoon or evening, he said, "Look, we came to my door, knocked on the door, and said, 'Look, Boogie,' that was not your nickname. 'You got to go home, man.' I said, 'Yeah, I know, man.' He said, 'Look, pack yourself and let's go.' And he took me home. And grief, I never felt such loss. I mean, I know that this is part of life, but Ma was everything to me. She was everything. And I'm quite sure your mom and grandma and stuff like that, everything to you, you know? So that was devastating. And I think the more devastating thing was how the people, the family, parts of the family anyway, changed. Everything became, you know, you don't own this, you don't own that, you can't eat this, you can't eat that, you can't stay here. Matter of fact, I couldn't stay in the house. I said, "Well, my Aunt Helen," you know? So that's why me and my Aunt Helen, I do want to send out a miss you to her. She passed, but, you know, I love her tremendously. And that was, you know, that's another, you know, I digress now. I don't want to, you know, go too far that way in that direction at this time. But, you know, just to let you guys know that loss, grief, there's stages of grief, my friend. But when Ma died, it was like my family turned against me. You know, I mean, hey, I'm in college, you know, I mean, hey, freshman year. And, you know, Ma supported me. And when she died, all of that ended. I couldn't even buy a pack of cigarettes for almost a year for the first and the second semesters. So, you know, all of these, you know, sororities approached me. Not sorority, fraternities, rather. would approach me, wanted me to join this and that, especially the one, I think it was Omega Sci-Fi, the Qs. They wanted to recruit me, but I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford it. You know, you got to have your jacket, you got to have all these things, and I had no support. But, you know, I made it with the support of people, of my classmates, you know, and my roommate, especially Weird Arnold. I ain't tell you about Weird Arnold, let me tell you about him now. Because he played a significant role during that period of time, you know. So Arnold, my roommate, guy from New York City, he had a big afro, man. I mean, really big, with a beard. And his mother sent him down to the city state to get him away from drugs. He was a heroin addict. So she sent him down there to get away from drugs. Not knowing, drugs, you know, during that period of time, drugs were readily available down there. So anyway, Weird Arnold, which I used to call him, he's also a trumpet player, and we played in the band together. And, you know, without him, you know, I couldn't even get a pack of cigarettes. But he was mainlining though, man, I tell you, he was mainlining. But one thing I did, you know, when you're in college, you try different things, okay? All right, so one day, I've always been afraid of needles. That, you know, I horrified, but that's how he would, you know, take a dose, you know, shoot up. So one night, we were going to we preparing to go to a basketball game, and he said, "Hey, well, man, why don't you just try it, man? Just try it." I said, "Nah, man." He said, "Come on, man." So he patted my arm, you know, the injection site, you know, and he gave me the needle, man. That didn't. But I tell you what, that was the last time, because I was so high. Like, we had a basketball game that night, and it was snow on the ground, and we were walking. I tell you, I didn't feel anything. It was a high that you could not believe. And that was the first and last time that I used that drug. No way. Because it's too easy. I mean, I can see how you could just fall into a sinkhole with heroin. So I took it once, and that was the last time. That's a long time ago. Not as an adult, back then. We got through it, you know? But that was the worst time, one of the worst times in my life when I lost Ma. But, you know, looking back at it, it was time. Ma died at 83 years old, 82. Back then, that's a long time, you know, for a Black American woman to live. All right. She was in the, you know, there were other people that lived longer. But, you know, 82 at that time, hey. But that did have an overwhelming bearing on my life. I think it's one of the most critical points in the road that I encountered in my life. You know, that's about it. That's about it. Okay, so let's go on to now. Let's talk about arriving back into the Big Apple, going back to work. So, you know, I had worked at Chase prior to getting the scholarship to go down to Elizabeth City, ECSU. Yeah, thanks for listening to part 3 in the Colored Boy from Williamston series. We will be back with another episode soon. And by the way, if you like the Walt Weekly, please subscribe, like, share, follow, comment. We need it. Thank you very much. Until next time.